Happy New Year, everybody. Finally, it's 2021. We've been looking forward to this. Welcome to episode 465 of I Am Salt Lake Podcast. Today, we have a really fun episode for everybody. We figured for the first episode of the year, we might as well bring on the one and only Bad Brad Wheeler. I love this guy. Such a great guy. I'm so excited. We finally got him on the podcast. It has been, really since day one of starting this show, I've been trying to get him on the podcast.
And he's so much fun to talk to, too.
And we get to talk about so much in this episode. We get to talk about the Dead Goat. We talk about when Brad got to play the harmonica with Willie Nelson. We find out how Brad got his nickname of Bad Brad Wheeler. We talk about blues music. We're going to get into that here in just a minute.
Oh, man, yeah. It's such a good conversation. But before we get into it, I think we should probably introduce ourselves.
Probably.
My name is Chrissy Hollifield.
And my name is Chris Hollifield.
And welcome to our podcast. If this is your first time listening, you might be wondering what it's all about. Well, I Am Salt Lake Podcast is all about showcasing cool people doing neat things in Salt Lake City, Utah. We get to talk to business owners, authors, tattoo artists, restaurant owners, really anyone that might have a cool story to share.
So how excited are you for the new year, Chrissy?
You know, it's like I am really excited, but I keep forgetting still.
I don't want to jinx it, though. I don't want to get too excited.
Yeah, but that Match.com ad where they're like, I've met 2021. She's considerate, boring. And I'm like, yeah, that makes it worth it.
So I want to talk about one of our awesome sponsors, Salt Lake Barber Company. I love them. This is actually where I go to get my haircuts and beard trims. Isaac over there, he does such a great job. I love it when I get all cleaned up. I've been going to him. I think it's easily been 5 years now, Chrissy, that I've been going to him for all of my haircuts. The Salt Lake Barber Company, they're located at 10 East, 800 South, right on the corner of 800 South and Main Street there. Salt Lake Barber Company, they offer haircuts, beard trims, straight razor shaves. They do take walk-ins, but you do get a guaranteed appointment just by going to their website, saltlakebarberco.com. It's super easy to set up an appointment online. The funny thing is this is actually one of the biggest things that made me not want to go to barbershops. I was like, no, I don't want to set up an appointment online, but Salt Lake Barber Company, they make it so easy on their website, saltlakebarberco.com. Just go there, you select your barber, you select the services that you need, and you get a guaranteed appointment. Super easy. saltlakebarberco.com. Go try them out. Let me know what you think. And many thanks to the Salt Lake Barber Company for sponsoring this episode of I Am Salt Lake Podcast.
So here's that conversation that we had with Bad Brad Wheeler. It was so fun. I hope you enjoy it as much as we did.
There's a whole lot of mechanics that goes into doing these interviews, right? And not everybody can understand that or understand what it's like to walk somebody through something like this. And I think when we were talking on the phone, I was like, man, this is the first time I feel like I'm the one being asked to the dance. Like I'm usually the one being like, hey, no, come on, it'll be all right. Just relax. Just talk to the mic. I'll take care of you. But it's awesome. It's a little different. It's a little different.
Do you realize that this podcast, this is going on its 9th year, and This is your first time coming on the podcast? You're probably one of the most requested people to come on the podcast.
You really like to play hard to get.
I would.
I'm kind of shy, and I'm kind of busy.
Well, that's fair.
Yeah, I'm both. Yeah, but it's not like I've been dodging this.
Right.
Yeah. But I am glad that we're here. And I feel like we probably should have done this a long time ago.
I was starting
to feel like we're probably going to do another one. For some reason, I can just feel it. There'll be another one after
even
this.
If we don't have the mics, we can still do this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
See?
What got you into radio, man? Like, let's start there if you don't mind.
An accident, I guess, really.
You didn't go to school for it?
No.
You didn't do all that stuff?
No, but I got put through this like little boot camp when I was at KRCL. I don't know if you know, I love blues. Like you did the Monday Night Blues at Green Pig there, didn't you? Played the Monday Night Blues Jam in the Green Pig. When I was 18 years old, I was at a party at a friend's house. My friend's dad was the commander out of DDO, and he and my dad were friends. My dad he is a retired lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. And my friend had a harmonica, and his sister had her boyfriend's band playing, and we had a keg, and it was cool because you could have a keg on base, especially at the commander's house. You didn't have to worry. The MPs weren't going to arrest anybody as long as you stayed at the commander's house. So we were having this party, and I picked up this harmonica, and I started playing it while I was in line to get a beer, and someone said, "Oh, you think you can play that harmonica, huh?" I said, "Why don't you get and play with the band?" So I was like, I don't know, Ogden's kind of a weird place. I felt like it was a challenge. So I was like, okay. So I just got up there and I started playing the harmonica with this band in this song. And when I got done, everyone's like, "We didn't know you could do that." And I was like, I didn't know I can do that either. Someone just challenged me and I did it. I just kind of told myself the low notes were on this end and the high notes were on this end. And I got lucky that the harmonica was in the same key of the song. So I got addicted to the harmonica and I got addicted to blues music. And I just started researching it and studying it. And
just because of the harmonica got you addicted to the blues music?
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to know more about the harmonica as an instrument.
Sure.
And
but you didn't listen to blues music before that?
Not really, no.
Okay.
Well, I listened to classic rock and roll and stuff like that, eventually learning that it's all
integrated, interconnected.
Blues, it's just
all influenced by each other.
Yeah, I mean, Led Zeppelin was playing blues. Eric Clapton was playing blues.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even some Black Sabbath there's all that stuff. But so I really got immersed into the blues. I was going to college. I got my degree in anthropology, archaeology, and art. I did archaeology after I graduated for a little while. And then I found out I could make more money working in a bar. I could
that's so
working
sad,
with my degree.
I was just thinking, you're like the coolest person ever. Who majors in those three things?
I was lucky. I don't know. My parents, I don't know if they were really happy about it, but
where'd you go to school?
I went to Weber State.
Oh, Weber State. That's right.
Okay.
I also went to Catholic high school up in Ogden, but this blues thing. So I started working in some bars on 25th Street, and then I did that for
how many years ago was this about?
Man, I want to say, it was 90. I want to say it was 97.
So this goes back a ways.
Yeah, it was 90 that I started playing the harmonica. And then 97, 96, 95, 96, I'm working on 25th Street in Ogden in the kitchen of City Club and also running and buying groceries and liquor for all the other clubs that Bill and Heidi Bill Parker and Heidi Harwood owned up there. And then in 97, I started talking about how I visited a friend in Salt Lake and I was complaining about how I needed to have a different job. And they were like, "Well, what kind of job would you like?" And I was like, "Oh, I would so love to work at the Dead Goat Saloon. The Dead Goat Saloon is just this amazing place.
That was the
bring
spot,
national
man.
blues acts every Monday night.
Yeah.
It's just like a cultural institution." And they're like, "Have you ever put in an application there, Brad?" And I was like, "I've never seen a help wanted sign." And I was like, you
didn't think to just go in and be like, "Hey, can I work here?"
I never had thought that. Someone's like, "Brad, you should just fill out an application and see what happens." And I was like, "Oh, I was go down there just for fun and fill out an application." So I did. And then 3 or 4 months later, I'd forgotten, Chrissy, that I'd even filled it out,
It's just one of those things, spur of the moment, just for fun.
Yeah, I just did it it's just
totally.
a random thing,
I did that with a
Oh, by the way,
Hooters
I
thing
got
once.
this job,
Yeah, I know.
But then 4 months later, they call me on the phone and they start asking me all these questions. And I started to think it was some of the guys I worked with at the bar joking. And they said, no, we own the Dead Goat. And we looked at your application and we noticed that you've done every job in the bar except manage it, and we have taken over the bar and we'd like to have you come down and manage the bar. And I'm like, "Are you serious?" And
Holy cow.
So yeah, holy cow. So now I am managing this bar that is to me
the bar you just wanted to be the stock boy at.
Dude, that was the spot, Chrissy. You don't understand.
It was so much.
I hear about it so much from everybody.
Yeah, Chrissy, you didn't get
it was huge. It was it was a really, really, it was probably the thing that just changed my whole life, to be honest. Well, the harmonica and then that. So I'm working at the bar and we have national blues artists coming every Monday night. So the thing
so cool.
that's going on Monday night as well on the radio is the blues show on KRCL. So I started to call Truman every Monday night to tell him what blues show was coming or coming. I mean, they did the live broadcast the last Monday of the month at the Dead Goat, but they didn't. They used to just do the blues the last Monday of the month, but when I came on, John Paul had decided he was going to do it every Monday, and it ramped up. It was this golden age of the Dead Goat. It was a beautiful, beautiful time. And so I started calling the radio station all the time and talking to Truman. So the people in Ogden, when I left to go work at the Dead Goat, they were like, Brad's not really going to go work at the Dead Goat. Like, he's not really going to move to Salt Lake. This is all I thought it was like make-believe or something, like he'll
one of
be
those
back.
silly things like one day I'll do this.
Yeah,
but you never actually are.
He'll be back, but I didn't come back for like 6 months. So they sent a bunch of my coworkers down to come and check on me. And they're like, are you really running this bar down here? I'm like, yeah, look at this. We're running this bar. Like all these national blues guys and Rolling Stones, like Mick Taylor came and played there. Like it was incredible. So they went back and told my bosses, and
I love that they had a team come down and check on you.
It got even crazier. So then my bosses decided they were going to buy this bar next to the bar they owned in Ogden to annex a part of it to add onto this big bar they called Brewski's. And then they had this little tenderloin of a bar they didn't know what to do with. So they then got my harmonica mentor, Robbie Kapp, to come to the Dead Goat and tell me, he called me a son. That's what you do when you're a blues guy, you mentor. He said, son, you need to come home to Ogden because Bill and Heidi have a bar that they want you to run on 25th Street. It's not just any bar. It's the bar that I ran when I was on 25th Street when I was your age. You have to
carry it on, carry the legacy on, right?
When you're from Ogden and someone says, here's a bar for you to run on 25th Street, you can't say no.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't, it's a lot of people's dreams. Like you just can't say no. So, but imagine, Chrissy, like, here I am at this dream job of my life, the Dead Goat Saloon, like literally it's like the temple for
You're like
blues.
in the pinnacle, right?
It's like, but
it was the job everybody wanted.
Ooh, yeah. It's a job I want. Yeah. And I'm not even into music.
But I'm also like my people, my people are calling me home to this thing. So I'm like, okay, if I come home, can I still keep this relationship with the Dead Goat? Can we do the blues on Tuesday nights? Like if the night after, like piggyback with John Paul, and the owners are like, cool I think that's a wonderful idea. And there was a history of that existed before I was 21 with the Grey Moose Pub in Ogden, another legendary bar. So I went to Ogden. I started calling Truman still about the blues shows. And then eventually Truman said, look, you call up so much, I'm just going to turn on the microphone at 9:00 on Monday, and then you're going to call in, and then you're going to do your earnest best job and come up with a list of all the blues gigs that are happening for the week, and we'll just talk about it real quick, and then you'll be the blues news guy. So I was the blues newsman for a long time, like on Monday nights. And then this like crazy thing, I met Joe, all these different people. I started teaching harmonica. I got involved with Egyptian theater. I started teaching harmonica to the little kids in the school system. Did you like that? Do you like teaching harmonica? It was so rewarding, so amazing. It was a very humbling experience. We taught a lot of kids.
Probably taught you a lot of patience.
A lot of patience. We used to joke that we could get sponsored by Tylenol. Like it was. There's this.
Oh my God.
Parents, they would love us when we come in and play the music, but when we left with those kids, like it kind of sounded like a casino. You know what I mean? Because everything's all in the same key and they're all like going off at the same time, like wind chimes or something.
All right, we're going to take just a minute here and tell you about one of our awesome sponsors. I love these guys. UtahMarijuana.org. Hey, they are your #1 spot for all things medical marijuana, medical cannabis, CBD, and THC. I want to give a quick shout out to Tim Pickett. You guys remember him from back in episode 420 when he came on the podcast to talk about medical marijuana here in Utah. Great guy. Love that guy.
Great dude.
UtahMarijuana.org's team of medical cannabis experts makes getting your medical card super easy from your first office visit to navigating the state card application and beyond.
Okay, I know it sounds too good to be true. You can go there and they're going to help you get all the way through the process legally. I promise I can vouch with over 20 compassionate and highly skilled qualified medical providers ready to help you find relief. You won't have to search for a doctor willing to recommend cannabis treatment. I personally have recently become a cannabis patient, and I went to utahmarijuana.org, and it was so amazing. They walked me through every step of the process. They explained everything, took their time. It didn't feel like a doctor's office where you're going to get kicked out, right? They listen to you. They want to help you with your needs and train you and teach you. And I cannot recommend them more. And right now, they're offering an exclusive discount to I Am Salt Lake listeners. Use the promo code GREEN25 for $25 off your first visit.
Hey, and if you're in the West Valley City area, check this out, utahmarijuana.org. They have a brand new office located there. It's in 3615 West, 1987 South, Building 8 in West Valley City. So like I said, depending on where you're located at in the valley, they have one in Salt Lake. I know they have one up north. They have one in West Valley. utahmarijuana.org. Isn't it time that you took control of your own health? Many thanks to utahmarijuana.org for sponsoring this episode of the podcast.
I had to come down and do a radiothon. We had the Egyptian Theater. I had established this relationship with the Egyptian Theater, and they were going to help answer phones at KRCL. So I came down to KRCL. I answered phones, and I met the staff, and I met the general manager, Donna Land Maldonado. You know, she thought I was a really good volunteer. She thought the things I was doing with Blues News were really cool. And then this is about 10 years later now. So this is about 2007. And the whole world has kind of changed. The Dead Goat is gone now. The Zephyr Club is gone now.
Was DV8 shut down yet?
DV8 was gone. DV8 was way gone.
Yeah.
The bar business was a little different, you know, and blues guys were getting older and, you know, and,
like a different demographic almost.
It was just a different, it was just getting harder to do blues. It was harder to do the bar. And Bill and Heidi, said, you know what, Brad, we can't really afford to do these blues showcases because it was hard. It was on a Monday night.
It's hard to get people out on a Monday night.
You're doing national acts on a Monday night.
That's family home evening night, okay?
It's a tough night. But I just said, you know what? I don't know that I want to run the bar anymore either. Danny and I, the guy who I was teaching blues in schools with, we had entered the City Weekly South by Southwest contest and got to go to Austin, Texas. And we started playing a lot of gigs, having opportunities to open up for a lot of big names and things like that. So I kind of retired the bar job, started playing the live gigs. And then I got a call from Donna Land Maldonado one day saying, hey, we need somebody to come down here and fill in this radio show for an hour and a half. And you don't have a job, so why don't you come down and do it? And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, I don't know. Can I do that? You know, like
it's a one-time thing. They only wanted you to do it one time.
They wanted me to do it for a while to fill in this show. Like,
Sure.
Can you take over this? It was like from 1:30 to 2 or something. Maybe it was 2:33. It was
somewhere in that time. Yeah.
In a really weird spot in the middle of the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Small show. And I was really scared. I was like, whoa, what if I'm bad? Will you take me off the air? And they're like, oh, don't worry. If you suck, we'll take you off. You know? But somehow I just went in there and I just started doing it. And
they kept you on. They loved you.
Well, I had to do a radiothon.
Okay.
And then some things got really... There were a whole bunch of things that happened.
Well, let's stop there for a second. When did the Bad Brad... When did that come in? Did that come in before the radio or after the radio?
Yeah, Bad Brad was before the radio. First time I heard someone say Bad Brad was in Catholic high school was from Father Herlick on my first day in Catholic high school.
Wait, was he talking to you?
Yeah, I got in trouble.
Amazing.
It was pretty crazy.
Bad Brad.
And it was kind of a thing that put me into this other weird fraternity of Father Herlick's problem children. Like Father Herlick.
He just decided, huh?
Father Herlick was really an interesting guy. He was, Irish-American priest. He read Last Rites on the beach of Normandy during World War II. And he's a really kind of a man's man.
He's got to be very strict, it sounds like.
Very strict. And he had a really weird way of talking. He talked like William S. Burroughs. Like he talked really, really interestingly. And
I'm trying to remember who William S. Burroughs is.
Well, I'll do the imitation here for you in just a minute. So Father, how I got the name Bad Brad. So Father's like, good afternoon, boys. I'd like to tell you a story about a little boy who used to dress up in a sailor suit that his mom made him wear every Thanksgiving. And he'd come out and do a song and dance for everybody. And it was all fine and dandy until the boy grew up to be a man. And he would still come out in this sailor suit at Thanksgiving and do a song and dance. And it was just kind of quiet in the classroom. And I'm young. This is my first day at Catholic high school. I want to do good. I'm trying to understand what Father's telling me. So I raise my hand and Father goes, yes, son. I go, Father, are you trying to tell us this guy is gay? What are you trying to tell us? I don't understand. Everybody started laughing like you guys did.
Yeah, because we're all thinking it.
We're all like, what is Father trying to say? You know, so Father comes over and grabs me by my tie and picks me up out of my chair and holds me above his head. And he says, what is your name, son? And I said, my name is Brad Wheeler. And he's all, Bad Brad Wheeler. And I was like, Father, I'm sorry. He's all, Bad Brad, you will sit at the front of the class for the rest of the year. You'll be the first to give oral reports. Do you understand me? And I was like, I understand you, Father. I understand you.
And the name just stuck.
It put me, well, it didn't really stick in high school, but when I started playing harmonica and I got pretty good at it and I started doing like some session work for some blues artists out of town that would come through, I knew I needed a blues name. I felt like I needed a blues name. And there was something about Bad Brad Wheeler that just felt like, it kind of felt like that's what I was doing. I was being that guy.
Sounds like you should be in a Western or something.
You know what I mean?
You know what I mean? Like,
This is literally the most badass nickname story I've ever heard in my life. It's usually like, oh, my mom called me that when I was 5, but you know.
It was Father Herlick. I really feel so blessed to have had that experience with him. Later in high school, when I was a senior, Father had gone now. Father had retired. My art teacher used to sign me out of class to go over to Weber State and look at what the kids were doing in the art department over there. And I remember one day I was walking over there and this biker guy leaned his head out of the window of the art department. He's all, hey, St. Joseph's, what are you doing? And I was all, how did you know I go to St. Joseph's? He's all, look, you got a Catholic high school uniform on. You think people dress like that? I was like, oh, I didn't think about it. And he's like, come here. And so I came over and we started talking and he's like, you know Father Herlick? And I was like, you know Father Herlick? He's like, I got kicked out of Father Herlick's class in 1979. I was like, get out of here. And he started telling me, he's like, you know what? Father Herlick is a straight up guy. He's all, Father Herlick. And he just told me how his whole experience with Father Herlick and how Father Herlick, you know, tried to break him down, give him a little bit of discipline, give him a code to live by. And, yeah, Father Herlick.
That is such a rad story, man. That is so awesome.
There was another. Well, here's the last Father Herlick. The last time I saw Father Herlick, they were dedicating the gym to him at St. Joe's. I can't remember what year it was, but he had retired. He'd been to California, and it'd been a while since he'd been back to Ogden. And I went up to him and I said, Father, I said, it's me. I just want to apologize for any hell I put you through as a student or any disrespect I ever inflicted upon you. I said, I respect you so much. I learned so much from you about having a code and everything. He's all, remind me of your name, son. I'm all, it's me, Brad Wheeler. He's all, that's right, Brad Wheeler. What are you doing with yourself these days, Brad? I go, I'm running a bar on 25th Street. He's all, down the street from Eddie Simone, I suppose. I'm all, yeah, Eddie Simone of the Kokomo. Yeah, that's right. Eddie Simone, my first problem child. Brad Wheeler, my last problem child. Together on 25th Street. Coincidence? I think not. And I was just like, are you kidding me? I had no idea. Eddie Simone, God bless him, we call him the godfather of 25th Street, the owner of the Kokomo Club, literally was Father Herlich's first problem child. And I feel so honored to be his last problem child. And it's so weird because there's a window on 25th Street that you can look out the window and look right down 25th Street. And you can see like people like moving around like little ants and stuff like that. And it was weird to think about. We're looking at your destiny as a young kid up there going to school. You know, this thing that was going to influence you the rest of your life.
Wow, you guys need like a Facebook group where you can all get together and share Father Hurley stories.
Father Herlich, yeah,
or Herlich. I can't. Yeah. I want a list of stories.
He's very, very, very respected in Ogden. He's very, very respected. Yeah, he was the head father out of St. Mary's, and he taught at St. Joe's for a number of years. Performed a number of weddings, and he was just the kind of priest that rolled up his sleeves and just. Slick back his hair and he's got a little bit Bukowski-ish, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
rugged.
Yeah.
Little, you were wondering if he was drinking the night before, right?
No, sometimes he would, sometimes you could smell it on him, you know? Sometimes he'd invite you to go fishing and, you know, he'd drink and
I feel like this is just a Hollywood movie waiting to be written, to be perfectly honest.
I feel very blessed. I've had a very blessed life.
So speaking of that, I want to make sure to talk about this because I haven't heard the full story on the harmonica with playing with Willie Nelson. I've heard this story. Well, I mean, I've heard that you did it, but I don't know the story on how you did it and how it happened.
The same biker that I was telling you about that I met in the art department. Yeah. We got to be really good friends. And his name is Michael Lane. He's probably going to listen to this. And we had to do some art history finals together. And Mike he's about, I think, 10 or 15 years older than me. He's older than me. And he was a member of Outlaw Motorcycle Club at one time. I don't really want to say their name because I don't want to get them too involved, but most people probably know up in Ogden. I went over to his house and he's all, art history, yeah? And I was like, yeah. He's all, no. Well, what do you mean? And he's like, we're going to watch all three Godfathers. And then we're going to watch The Red-Headed Stranger. And I was like, what? And he's like, you need to watch The Godfathers. I don't know why he felt like I needed to watch The Godfathers. But then he said, if you're going to play harmonica, you need to know how to play some licks off The Red-Headed Stranger or you're not going to be shit. It's like, you won't be shit. Like literally, he's just like, you're going to grow up and play the harmonica. You need to watch this. So I don't know if I got brainwashed during the first three Godfathers, but something happened when I watched The Red-Headed Stranger. I hadn't never really thought about Willie Nelson like that. I don't know. My relationship with Willie Nelson changed that day. Just hearing these beautiful ballads about a man, a good man, a preacher going wrong and killing his bride, you know, and living as an outlaw. And just that line, don't cross him, don't boss him. He's wild in his sorrow, riding, hiding his pain. Don't fight him, don't spite him. Just wait till tomorrow. Maybe he'll ride on again. I just was so many people that came in the bar on 25th Street. You know what I mean? It just was so many people. I've met so many people like that in my life that are just like red-headed strangers.
All right, this episode of the podcast is brought to you by our friends at Libsyn. Hey, it's the start of a brand new year, and maybe you're thinking about starting a podcast. Maybe you have a friend or a coworker, and they're thinking of starting a podcast. Well, you're in luck, because if you or someone you know, if you're in the process of starting a podcast and you're looking for the best podcast audio host available, go check out Libsyn.com. We've been using Libsyn to host I Am Salt Lake podcast for over 8 years now, and I know that I personally could not be more happy with them. They make it super, super easy to set up. They make it super easy to get your podcast routed to all the podcast players out there like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I Am Salt Lake podcast listeners, listen up, because we created a very special promo code just for you. The promo code is Salt Lake. It's all one word, Salt Lake. If you enter this in at checkout at Libsyn.com, what happens is you get the rest of this month and all of next month of free podcast audio hosting at Libsyn.com. That's spelled Libsyn, Libsyn.com. Again, the promo code is Salt Lake. You'll be supporting the podcast and you'll get yourself some free podcast audio hosting at the same time. Win-win. And many thanks to Libsyn for their support of this podcast.
So I got really fascinated with Mickey Raphael, Willie Nelson's harmonica player. The things that he does on the harmonica, nobody else really does. He has like this vibrato and this like tremolo and there's a lot of things he does that I still can't do, you know? This is what, maybe, gosh, I think maybe this is 8 years ago, maybe 9 years ago.
Oh, so not very long ago.
It could even be 10 years ago now. I mean, Willie is now 87, right?
Sounds about right.
And I was at his 80th birthday party. So maybe this is 10 years ago, maybe 10 or 11 years ago. I'm sitting at home and I get a text or I get a message on Facebook from Grant Sperry saying, do you know a guy named Mickey Raphael? And I was like,
of course.
Like, yeah, I know a guy named Mickey Raphael. And he said, I was at a party last night and I met him. I'm all, you're at a party and you met Mickey Raphael? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I had this t-shirt on that said Calexico. And he's like, I love Calexico. I play harmonica and I played with them. And then Grant said, I didn't know what to say after he said he played harmonica. I just said, well, do you know Brad Wheeler? And he's like, well, yeah, I listened to him on the radio. And he's like, well, did you know he played harmonica? And he's like, no, I didn't know Brad Wheeler played harmonica. And I was just like, what are you telling me, Grant? You know what I mean? Like, what? You had a conversation at a party with Mickey Raphael in Cottonwood Heights, and he's telling you that he listens to me on the radio? Yeah. I was like, and you told him I played harmonica? He's like, yeah. And I was like, oh my God. You know, it just like, it freaked me out, you know? So
wait, does Mickey Raphael live here in Utah then?
Well, at the time he was dating a girl. They got married and she passed away from cancer. But like another week or two later, 3 weeks later, after this story, John Paul, my boss at the Dead Goat, who also used to be a writer for the Salt Lake Tribune, who was also friends with our friend John Saltis. I think John wanted to get John Paul involved in writing music again. So somehow the music editor, maybe it was Bill Froth, I don't know who it was, but someone said, we want you to do a story on harmonica. And if it's the most popular instrument in the world, how come the only person we know that plays it is Brad? And I was like, I felt like there was someone's like trying to set me up or something, you know?
Yeah.
And I was just like,
it's a little pointed.
It was pointed.
Yeah.
But I was like, so John Paul and I are talking about, I was like, John Paul, you know, there's a lot of people that play harmonica around here. I'm like, you know, Kurt Bester plays harmonica. Like, you know, Robbie Cat plays harmonica. Like Harry Lee plays harmonica. I gave him all this list of, and then I said, you know what, John Paul? I said, Mickey Raphael apparently lives in Salt Lake and he's like one of the best harmonica players of all time. He's like, you got to be kidding me. And I'm like, no. He's like, well, how would I get a hold of him? I said, type his name into the internet and send him an email and see what happens. So he did it. Happened like just like that. They called, they talked, they responded, they talked. John Paul calls me afterwards. He's like, you're not going to believe what happened. I'm all, what? He's like, I just did an interview with Mickey Raphael. I'm like, you got to be shitting me. He said, no. And then he said, he wants to know. He's like, how did you know I live here? And he said, Brad Wheeler told me. He's all, Brad Wheeler knows that I'm in. So like Mickey now is aware that I'm aware of him. Do you know what I mean? We're both aware that we're aware of each other. Do you know,
I did not.
Do you know what I mean?
This is amazing.
I think this is pretty much how it works. So then I'm at work one day and I get an email from his girlfriend, Brenda, and she says, look, we've had a few encounters in the last month. You know, we think it's probably time that we go and get dinner together. How do you feel about that? And you can see, I don't know if you can see it. Like I'm starting to get a little bit nervous just right now, just like thinking about it. I have never
that's intense.
Really been verklempt about
You were like,
meeting I couldn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't really process it. Actually, I just would look at it for about a week and just like, is this thing real? Is this real? And then finally one day I was like, eBay, I got something I got to show you. Like, I'm having a hard time processing this, you know? And he's like, oh my God. He's like, they want to go to dinner with you. He's like, respond, you know? So I responded. I was like, sure, I'd love to go to dinner. And I was like, do you care if I bring a friend? And they're like, well, who would you like to bring? I said, I'd like to bring John Paul. And they're like, sure, bring John Paul. So I said, can we meet at the Red Iguana? It's, you know, John Paul's favorite place and it's accessible for him and stuff like that. And they're like, sure. So we meet at the Red Iguana. John Paul is a wonderful conversationalist. Mickey's girlfriend, Brenda, is one of the most beautiful women in the world. Also a fabulous conversationalist. I just kind of sit back and let him talk for a while. And,
just soak it in, right?
I'm just soaking it in. Like, I can't even really process like what's happening. And then we get through eating. And then Mickey's like, you know, he just looks at me. He's like, are you going to say anything? And I was just like, I said, I'm just having a hard time processing that we're sitting here next to each other. You know, I said, you know, you're my harmonica hero in a lot of ways. I said, one of the greatest compliments I ever got one night, I was on stage. There's a old Sun Records artist named Sleepy LaBeef. I used to call him the human jukebox. And he would like literally play something like 120 songs in something like 25 minutes. Like he could switch songs and go into other songs.
So he would like almost make it one long song with
one long song, but he could
songs?
also just like, with pieces of songs, but he could also just switch a song. Like, just like
that's talent.
Well,
that's skill.
He was skilled, but he could also be kind of I don't know. He was trying to work me out one night. Like, he got me on stage and he was big. He was bigger than me. He was like literally like about 6-7 inches taller than me and easily like another 80 pounds. Like, he was a big guy. And, and we were going through all these songs. And when we got done, I just remember Sleepy saying, boy, when I close my eyes, I feel like I'm playing with Mickey Raphael. And I told that to Mickey and Mickey just kind of leaned back. I said, wait, Mickey, I go, you know, that vibrato thing you do, I can do that vibrato thing like really good. I said, but when Willie goes screams like a panther in the middle of the night and your harmonica goes way up there, I go, I can't do the scream like the panther in the middle of the night. And there was something about the way we were talking. It felt like we were just like us, like talking about how to do an interview, like just being honest and vulnerable and sincere.
Well, you become what's the word? Not, I mean, equals, but what's the word when you work with people or you're in the same industry? Anyway,
that word, that one word
is a word, and it's going to kill me that I can't think of it. But you know, you're comrades. You have something in common that you're both trying to understand. And
I think he generally understood that I really looked up to him and his sound. Like and his sound for me was a rite of passage, you know, like learning some of these chops of his was, it gave me a validation as a musician. So he became fascinated with the radio program and how I do the radio show. And then I realized he was secretly, I don't know, I feel like he wanted to come and do the show. So I asked him, you want to come and do a radio show together? He's like, oh my God, let's do it. So he came and he did it and we started doing it. And he started getting a little bit nervous, you know, like third, fourth song. And Brenda's like, are you okay, Mickey? You look really nervous. He's like, you know, I feel really bad. He's like, I feel like I'm letting Brad's listeners down. He's like, I'm playing music that I don't think Brad would normally play on this show. And I just don't know if I'm in the right place or not. And I just looked at him. I said, dude, I'm the bus driver right now. When the bus driver's happy, the kids on the bus are happy. And I go, I don't really care about what the kids are doing. I go, we're doing this together. We're doing it. And it was one of the most incredible radio experiences I ever had. Told us about going to the White House with Jimmy Carter. Told us about, you know, meeting Willie for the first time, doing the Redheaded Stranger, like all these different people, these just ins and outs and stories. And it was a really big thing.
This blows away the phrase "never meet your heroes." I just have to say that.
Yeah,
you
will
can continue.
But there was that too, though. I mean, I had that fear.
That's my biggest fear is when you meet them. Will you be ruined? I
had that happen with a lot of blues guys growing up, and that was exactly something I was really, really worried about. But I have to say, like to this day, Mickey and I are still like, we talked yesterday for probably about 45 minutes. We were talking about all sorts of things, like teaching him a little bit about meditation. We were talking about how the UK press is upset about whether or not Lady Diana was really at the comedy club with him and Willie and Burt Reynolds, Sally Fields or not, Lady Diana, or if it was Richard Pryor's wife. I mean, but anyhow, that relationship happened. And then I think Mickey invited me out to Willie's 80th birthday party.
And where was that here that was in Texas?
It was in Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
And, I think we were going to take some listeners from the radio station or something. We were running a contest or something, and Mickey helped us out. But the listeners, I believe they spent their cash money before they could go, or we're not going. And I'm like, well, I'm not staying. I'm going. I'm gone. So I went, and we just had the greatest time in Texas. And I just remember sitting on stage. It was so crazy. I had just met so many different people.
There were probably so many famous, well-known people there, artists, musicians. Did you meet any other musicians there?
I met B.P. Fallon was there. David Allan Coe was there. Randy Travis was there. A federal judge was there.
And this was way before iPhone, so you weren't taking pictures probably.
No, this was iPhones. This was like 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Like when Blackberries were still okay.
But it was kind of funny. I remember it during the show, Mickey got down and said, and it was weird. He just held this microphone and this harmonica in my face. He's all, get up. And I'm all, what? He's all, get up. And I'm all, no. He's all, yes. And he's all, I'm all, no. He's all, it's Make-A-Wish Day for harmonica players. And I'm like, I can't do this. He's like, just get up and play the goddamn harmonica. So I got up.
What was going through your head? And I mean, seriously.
It doesn't seem real.
Yeah.
Nothing seems real. Like this whole thing was insane. So I play and I give it back to him and he's all, no. He's like, you got 3 more songs to play. So I play these songs.
Did you just want to run?
You can't really process what's happening.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like, yeah, you're outside of your body. You're
like muscle memory takes over.
How many people were there probably?
Oh, there's a couple. I played in front of a lot of people before.
Well, sure. But
the fact that you're on the same stage.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
You're just like,
right?
Yeah.
It's the pressure of keeping up and like doing it right so that people listening don't even notice.
Willie here.
Willie looks at you and nods.
You're like,
to tell you to take a solo.
Dude,
like,
I would have biffed
You take a solo.
What do you do? It's just like one of the craziest things.
It's nuts. It's so cool.
So we did that. Then I remember I just remember this one moment where someone wanted Willie to autograph their phone and the phone rang and Willie answered it and started talking to the other person and then they gave it back to him. But then we got off the stage and then I went to the band bus where Mickey was and the rest of the band, and the band started teasing me and they were like, well, man, we know who to call when Mickey's sick now, apparently. Like, they were really flattering. Mickey was really flattering. And I told Mickey, Mickey, I don't know how to say this, but I feel like that little kid that gave Mean Joe Green the Coca-Cola and like you gave me this jersey at the Super Bowl. I don't know how to even process what's happening right now, and his friends that we had met were laughing and smiling. They took all these pictures. And then one of Willie's biker friends came up to me and he gave me this bag of weed. And I said, what's this? He said, it's a bag of weed. And I said, what should I do with this? He said, you're going to need it when you get back to the hotel room because your mind is going to start playing this over and over and over again. And you're going to need this. You're going to need
Calm
this.
that brain
Oh
down.
my gosh,
You're
they're
gonna-
like the sweetest, most thoughtful people.
And that's exactly what happened. I went back to the Holiday Inn, and I was like, did that really happen? Like, did that happen? And then I rolled a joint, and then I called my biker friend, Mike Lane, who told me I wouldn't be shit on harmonica if I didn't learn some Willie Nelson.
You were like, guess what,
And was
buddy?
he
I
like,
just played with
Redheaded
Willie.
Stranger?
why didn't you call me and bring me?
No, he just was like, he understood. He was just, he was so, and
No,
he's
that's
still to
so
this day
cool.
so proud. So then when that was pretty wild, right? But then I realized they're going to be coming to Utah like a year
On tour.
later or something
You're
like
maybe
that.
I can play then, right?
Oh my God, Chris. The worst 6 months of dreams of my life. I had dreams that I fell on Willie and broke his hip. I had dreams that like I was playing and the harmonica broke. I had dreams of like all my teeth fell out. I had dreams I wet myself standing in front of everybody. You saw
Everything. That's what happened to me when I took a new job and I had to wait 2 weeks to start. Every night it was like, how bad can I mess up tonight?
Yeah, everything I could think. Like one night I killed Willie. I was like everything, and then the dream always ended like 5 years later. Like everyone going, "Do you remember when you did that in front of everybody?" And you just like, it was just so horrible. I was so afraid.
So did you get to play with them when they came?
I did when they came again. I had to. Mickey's like, "Come on."
So you've played with them multiple times probably now.
I have now played with them 4 times. Yeah, and it's still.
Have you smoked
surreal.
weed with Willie?
I have not smoked weed with Willie. I have never even called him Willie. I've only said Mr. Nelson. And
Who calls him Mr. Nelson? Come on.
A respectful young man.
I really just can't bring myself to call him Willie.
That's cool.
I did go on his bus when he was here in Salt Lake, but Willie wasn't there.
But he could have been there. That was
Well,
what
it
you were
was really
hoping
funny
for.
because he left his mountain bike outside of the bus, and Mickey was like, he's always leaving that mountain bike. He's like, that mountain bike's been stolen so many times, like across America, and somehow Willie always gets it back.
The same bike?
Same mountain bike.
There's a
Yeah.
tracker on
Okay,
it.
that's impressive.
Yeah. So
That's so awesome.
it's a really big, it's a huge thing. Yeah.
Let's fast forward a little bit to current day radio. Currently 99.9 KUAA, right? Local radio. How did you get involved with that? Because there was quite a gap from KRCL to that, right? Like that wasn't, you didn't leave KRCL for that. So how did you get involved with
Yeah. I left KRCL and then I went through a lot of stuff. I mean, as we were talking before, I think you hit record that, I was in a pretty serious accident in 96.
I don't think I got any of that.
We didn't talk about it on here,
Oh,
but
okay.
yeah, but when we were talking before as we would say in radio off air, when we were off air, when I was showing Chrissy my leg.
He really was.
Look, it's getting weird in here, you guys. It's okay. I'm just kidding.
But I have PTSD. I guess that's really the way you got to come out and say it. I have PTSD, and I had to learn how to live with PTSD. And I wasn't really sure what I was going to do after the radio station, but I knew that I had to take care of myself. Like I needed some space. I needed some time. And then got heavily involved in Zen meditation. As you know, it's been like a big thing for me. You've done an interview with my good friend Rodrigo.
Yeah, I was going to say, what was his name? Rodrigo.
We met
That's
him
right,
through you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Derek called me. I want to say it was towards the fall. It was maybe it was in October that he called me of 2017 or 2018. That sounds about right.
Roughly about then, yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, we got this low-powered FM radio station. You're not doing anything in radio. If you're interested in doing something in radio, let us know." And it was heavy. That time I wasn't doing radio because, I never got into radio. I don't know.
You loved the why behind the radio, not the radio itself. You love the music and sharing.
I like music. I like music a lot. But there was, when the people started coming to you and talking to you, you realize, and I'm sure you feel the same thing, like there's a part of you that does this out of a public service.
Of course.
There's
man.
like, you know, and to hear people talk about how much they missed it and how much they got out of it. I felt like, oh my God, I gotta go back to this thing. I do gotta go back and do radio.
Well, the city of Salt Lake was like pushing you to get back to radio. When you left KRCL, I mean, I remember like social media was like, bring back Bad Brad.
Yeah, but radio is a weird weird thing too. Like I feel so grateful to have the relationship also that I've had with Bill Allred, and Carrie and Gina. Like those guys have helped me a lot. Radio is a really weird industry. I mean, it's all that stuff Howard Stern talks about in those movies. I wish it wasn't true, but it pretty much all of it is true. Like it's a really weird industry. And when sometimes some commercial things cross with the community things, it can get really weird when people switch from one side of the dial to the other. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I think so. Yeah.
Can get really weird.
So when you started though at 99.9 though, like you said, it was like, what'd you say? Like a small little tower.
So
now it's a little bigger. So, I mean, it's expanded. He's gotten bigger. Didn't you even say you were moving?
We're trying to. Yeah, we were, man. Derek, I don't know. I don't think Derek really thought he was going to have a radio station either. I think.
Well, they had this thing for years. Did you realize that? I mean, like years, nobody was using it.
No, wait. Yeah. He applied for the license and then he got the license and then he was like running out of time to put the tower up. He filed for an extension, got the extension, got some partners, got the stuff to do it, didn't know where to put the tower. So then literally they put the tower, in my opinion, like the worst possible place they could have put it, on a 2-story building right there, you know, on the edge of Rose Park. And it's been crazy. I never thought I would be into this part of radio. You know what I mean? There's a lot to running a radio show and conducting and playing music and programming music and talking with people. But then there's a whole nother thing with like, we got to get a skimmer. We got to get a thing that broadcasts the zip stream out over the internet. We got to make sure we're paying our sound exchange fees. We got to make sure we're reporting to I'm an IT guy and the legal guy and the,
so you're running the whole show now. You're running 99.9, like the whole radio station.
Yeah, I did just get an employee, Samantha Smith, who used to work at the City Weekly. I think you guys might remember her.
Yeah.
She did a lot with the City Weekly's Utah Beer Festival.
Yeah.
She works also with the Salt Lake Arts Council. She's working at the radio station now. And things are happening. We've been getting donations. We got the antenna. We got a great deal with help from Broadway Media, on top of the Wells Fargo building, like the best place. I don't know that there's another well-powered FM radio station that's maximizing every watt that they can, like KUAA is. So yeah, that's only been like what, 2 months, 3 months since we've got the antenna up.
How far, like we're in the valley, how far down does it reach?
I want to say it goes all the way out to about the Claw, you know, and it just, I got a call from Felix the other day, told me he could hear it out there in Magna, which I was really surprised because sometimes it breaks up for me when I go out to the airport. But it's really, you know, pretty much like, I want to say that the 215 is really what its broadcast range is. You know, it's for,
well, that's your people, man. That's the people that are going to listen to what you're putting out there with the radio.
Still have a lot of people in Ogden that wish they could hear the radio.
But you can online, right?
I told them that too, but people in Ogden are old school. They're like, it's not the same. I want it in my car when I'm driving, you know.
It's true though. There really is that connection that you'll never be able to break, like the driving and listening connection.
Do you think radio will ever go away?
I don't think it will ever go away. If anything, the pandemic has showed me like how important it is. Like I really feel like, and you probably feel the same way, like you're keeping people connected. Well,
I'm talking like a radio in your car. I'm not talking podcast. I'm talking like 96.3. All right,
we're going to break it up into technology now.
X96 type of radio. That's more.
Yeah, no, I do. But to me, it's just, it's all the same. It's all content on different platforms.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I guess radio is more of a live. Some commercial radio stations aren't live. Yeah, I do. It's something that you can always go and turn to, and it will instantly change your mood, either for the better or for the worse, right? You'll either hear a song you don't like, or you'll hear a song that you love.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know, but you
Bring back a memory, bring back a feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It will be really interesting to see in 20 years, though. Like, you guys are making me think how all these things like podcasts and audiobooks and like actual radio, and eventually everything's going to have to merge in some way or another.
There's just way too much content out there these days.
There's so much content.
Way too much content.
Yeah. And I'm really curious to see kind of how we're going to take it, like how we're going to tackle that information overload.
Well, the good content still always comes to the top, you know, and
That's
bad
true.
content still just, it's
Nobody wants to listen to
yeah,
it. So
it's
they're
bad
not.
content, you know.
That's true. Yeah. That's, My brain just went in a whole different, that was very interesting.
So where do you see yourself like in 5 years, man? Like, do you want to keep doing radio? Do you love this? I mean, what do you?
And I don't know. This is one thing I was wondering if I should tell people, because this is something that happened the other day. And this is actually something that maybe this is my big reveal on the podcast, Chris. On December, and man, I feel like I might get emotional. On December 14th, I went and asked my Zen teacher if I could start sewing my robes to be a Zen monk. He told me yes. So I'm going to do that process this year. I'm going to go through that. And then, I really want to be able to help like other people who suffer from PTSD and trauma and things like that. I really,
like with meditation and stuff or what?
Yeah, any way that I can.
Yeah.
Cause I really have to say, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for a lot of other people. And I feel very grateful. And I also feel a responsibility to give back. So that's what I see my future. I don't know where it's going to go, but I know it's going to go in that direction.
Yeah. I don't even know what kind of things that would open up, but that's beautiful.
Oh, I know,
man.
but I mean,
that's beautiful.
Yeah. What a transition. And you're going to kill it because you basically just are amazing at everything you do. It sounds like. Well,
thank you. That's really nice. But, there's just, I'm still going to be doing radio. I'm still going to be Brad. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be standing out there on State Street with an alms bowl. Like,
yeah, but are you going to be bad, Brad?
How about not so bad, Brad?
I might be glad, Brad. I don't know yet. but I do know that, this part of my life is, there's something, that's, I feel like I've always been kind of spiritual, even like sitting in class with Father Herlick, but there's something about this part of my life that I really want to work on that and do what I can to help others. And I think a lot of it, let's be honest, is, it's a manifestation of my relationship with Joe, and the things that we went through together. And, just like learning what it is to be a spiritual person and be a person. Joe was a pretty tough guy.
Yeah.
Joe was a bad man too, but Joe was also a spiritual being, and a highly influential person on me.
So cool.
Yeah.
Dude, you got such an amazing story.
I feel very blessed.
Yeah.
There's so much, I have so much to be thankful for. I think about that too sometimes. Like, I have lived an incredible life.
Dude, you made it through 2020, right?
Through 2020. I made it through 2 car wrecks in 2 days in 2016.
This has been a hell of a year, though. You know what I mean? Like, this is really big. I mean, so it looks like you got some stuff to look forward to in 2021.
Yeah, but I do feel like some of the stuff I've been through has like prepared me for what I'm going through or what a lot of other people are going through.
Right.
Like, I feel like I'm able to notice a lot of other people in trauma mode that they don't realize they're experiencing trauma for the first time in their life.
That's really cool because a lot of people are having trauma for the first time this year, I think.
Yeah.
Like, there's going to be so many
realizing they need to deal with it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Not just pushing it in the back of
it's
their
getting
head.
exposed to them, to their minds.
And what do you think 2021 is? I mean, we're going to have to process some stuff. This thing isn't over, by any means. And there's a lot to process. There's a lot of people who've lost relatives this year. I mean, there was 1 week where I lost 4 or 5 people that I know. And it's just, some of my friends have lost their parents and not been able to go to funerals. You know what I mean? And that's
hard.
A heavy load for somebody to go through. That's a lot to process. That's a lot.
Well, hopefully things kind of end sooner than later. I don't know. I don't know if it'll ever really end. I think we're all going to have to fight it. But
you're right. Yeah. That's the Zen thing. Like
the norm. How can people get involved with the Zen stuff with you? Like the meditation
The
stuff?
Zen Center I go to is 2 Arrows Zen. I study under Mugaku Roshi, Michael Zimmerman. He's a really interesting guy. He used to be the former Chief Justice of the Utah Supreme Court. He might be, I don't know if he'd ever come and do this because he's so humble.
Oh,
like,
man,
I don't know if he'd really, but
yeah, it sounds like he'd be a great guy.
I would love to hear his transition
guy
story.
to talk to. He and his wife, Musho, Diane Hamilton, both amazing people. They're both teachers. But yeah, 2 Arrows Zen. We've been teaching a beginning Zen class on Thursday nights online. That's been a lot of fun. And we sit in the morning for people who are members of the Zen Center online every morning at 7:00. And then we have like retreats and shishins, which is, long, sit for a week and stuff like that. I don't know if Rodrigo talked to you about
he probably did. He probably did. Yeah.
And we just didn't really.
I was going to say, I'll put the link for that if people want to check it out on this episode at IamSaltLake.com with this.
What would a beginner do if someone wanted to just like reach out and try a first thing, like can they kind of like try a session?
Well, no, you don't want to go.
Or is that like not how this works?
A session is like where you meditate like 8 hours a day for like 5 days.
Have you done that?
Yeah.
No kidding.
It's pretty wild. Yeah. It's a lot.
Do you have to like stay in the same sitting position the whole time?
You get up and move every 35 minutes. You'll sit for 35. You'll walk for 10. You'll sit for 35. You'll walk for 10. You'll have a Dharma talk for an hour. Then you'll go literally chop wood, carry water, work on the Zendo, come back, sit, walk, wow. Dharma talk.
How long did you do that for?
I did that for a week. Yeah. For like 8 hours a day. Like it was
probably really cleansing though for your mind though, right? No,
very cleansing.
Yeah.
Makes you very present, makes you realize how much stuff is going on that you don't pay attention to in a given day. Just the little things, there's so much going on that we don't
even see. Yeah.
Let's we got a few Salt Lake City related questions that we ask everybody.
I could just sit here and talk to you guys. I love you. Go ahead.
I know this is like I could just listen.
I knew this was going to happen like this. Yeah, I don't know why I was getting nervous coming in here.
You were nervous to come on here. You were nervous to come on the podcast.
Just like I said, maybe I'm just being aware. Like there's a control thing maybe for me. Like it's different to be the one being asked the questions instead of asking the questions.
Because you can edit your side.
I don't know if it's edit, but like sometimes do you hear a voice in your head when you're doing an interview with someone? Like you know where you're going to go or you want to go, or sometimes you come up to something and you're like, wait a minute, let's stop there for a minute and dig that for,
you're the one scripting the conversation.
I'm just well, you're kind of like
not intentionally, but it just happens, right? Yeah. Like when you're the host, you're guiding the conversation.
And I'm just in the driver's seat going, okay, anything, I'm open for any conversation.
So what's the Brad Wheeler, the bad Brad Wheeler tour? If your family, friends, somebody comes to town, like say they're coming to visit Salt Lake City, they're coming to visit you for a weekend, right? And they've never been here. They're like, show me around. I don't know if there's like one or two places you like to show off and take people
there's so many places I love. Yeah, I mean, I love going to Caputo's. Like that place is amazing.
Yeah.
That Cheese Cave blew my mind when I moved to Salt Lake. That they just put that in, and the chocolate, that's amazing too, right? And I often see celebrities that come in and are buying stuff out of there. Also, we have some of those great restaurants on State Street. I've seen Martha Stewart buying pies out of Eva's Bakery.
No kidding.
Yeah, totally.
That's awesome.
Copper Common, Copper Onion, those two places. I mean, both like the place I ate before I went into the hospital and the place I ate when I came out of the hospital and went back and forth. Yeah, I love those guys. I love them. Like I was talking earlier about 25th Street. There's something, that place is amazing to me. I love going to Tona Sushi. I have a roll named after me there, the Brad roll, which I'm very, very proud of up there.
No kidding.
Yeah. Going to the Kokomo. I don't know how much longer the Kokomo is going to be the Kokomo. I heard Eddie Simone probably might have just sold it, which is a really big thing for the history of Ogden. Like that bar has been there Jack Kerouac wrote about that bar in Visions of Cody.
No kidding.
Yeah. Like Eddie got that bar when he graduated from high school from St. Joe's. His mom, his dad, his sister, they all had bars. His mom's bar was Sue's Lounge. I can't remember what bar his sister's bar was, or how the hell they got bars right out of high school.
Right. I was actually wondering that. I'm like, wait.
They're the Simones.
They can't even walk in one. But
They're the Italian American family in Ogden. Like that's the thing.
Hey, I won't ask questions. I'm down.
Yeah. Yeah, you can ask people in Ogden. You can just say, "Are those stories Brad's telling me about Eddie Simone real?" And people are going to let me tell you some Eddie Simone stories. Yeah.
What would you change about Salt Lake City if you could change something? Like, let's say you had the power to change something, whether that's something big, small.
I'm really glad you asked this question because a couple of years ago, the city sent me to Austin, Texas, to be a part of this nightlife thing where they were talking about the 9 to 5 p.m. really fuels the 9 to 5 a.m. You know, in the nighttime economy fuels the daytime economy.
Of course, yeah.
And the problem I realized from talking with the people in Austin is that we don't have a district. We need a district. We have a small thing happening over there with the complex and the depot and the metro, you know. But, you know, you're in Austin, Texas, that thing, it's like, that just goes for
spreads a lot bigger.
Miles and miles and miles. You know what I mean? But that's the thing. Like when we were talking with the organizers who did do the South by Southwest, I asked them, I'm like, I know you guys used to, cause I'm old. I'm like, I know you guys used to do the North by Northwest. Like, why don't you do that anymore? You know? And they're like, you know why? Because it was too hard to drive everybody around up there in Portland because the venues were too spread out. Like when you have things that are where people can walk, then you're developing a cultural district. That's what we need. We need several cultural districts. We also need another thing that blew my mind they had in Austin, Texas was housing for musicians. The musicians looked at me and said, so do you live in musician housing? I'm all, what the hell is musician housing? They're like, we have affordable housing for musicians. We pair them up with veterans, actually.
And this is in Austin.
In Austin, Texas. It's created this incredible cohabitation where they're taking care of each other. And it's just like great.
Dude, I love that.
That is so cool. I've never even heard of that.
That's another thing that we need. Yeah, we need to have entertainment districts, and then we need to be able to have ways to sustain and support artists.
We need affordable housing just in general, man.
Yeah.
We need affordable housing, and we probably should be making more grants and funding available. I mean, the more that we invest in arts and culture, the more people want to come here. Matter of fact, that was the one thing that blew my mind when we went to that thing. One of the people we were with, we're talking with the people who put on ACL, South by Southwest, and they're like, well, you know, we used to have this thing in the park, you know, this Twilight concert series. It was really cool. Like, you know, 20,000 people come down to the park and watch these shows, you know, and you know, and we've lost it. And it seems like we just need to figure out a way to get that back. And I just looked at that guy and I said, you're not understanding what these people are telling you. Like, it isn't South by Southwest that people come to Austin, Texas for. It's the whole thing that's happening.
They come for
all
Austin.
Year round. Yeah. Austin is performing 365 days a year, all hours of the day. And it doesn't matter what part of the world you're from, you can come and enjoy that at any time, you know? And that's why Austin is like one of the largest growing cities in America, because they've invested in that. And we do have amazing cultural artists here. Like we really do.
We just need to really give them more control of their own destiny.
We need to give them more control of their own destiny, and we need to put them in situations where they're interacting with other musicians of their caliber. You know, something changed with me. I'm still the same musician, but the way I relate to other musicians has changed because of my relationship with Mickey, if that makes sense. And it's just on a validation level. Do you know what I mean? It does feel like people in Utah are always feeling like they need to prove. Can you really play the blues in Utah? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It is kind of.
Is the weed really strong in Utah? Is the booze really good in Utah? You know, like, is it really good in Utah?
Are the women hot?
Yeah.
Do you really have 5 wives?
Yeah.
Maybe.
But I think the more that we put our artists in situations where they're exposed to people outside of here, or even opening up for other artists that come through here, yeah, it's gonna benefit our whole community. And we should create some more opportunities for musicians to be teaching in the school. Like, that was the one thing for me, like doing the Blues in Schools program was super rewarding. It was very powerful. Yeah.
Man, if our public schools could really figure out a way to incorporate something like that, I think it would really benefit everybody. That'd be really cool.
It's huge.
Arts is so important. It's a very neglected thing that is so important. And the way you described it really, really proves it, that it's, we need to keep pushing everybody to do their best. I'm in mom mode now.
You're great.
I'm all
you're
excited.
Great. I just know that any minute there might be a kid knocking on the door here. So just because they're like, oh, about that hour mark, they like to come and bother us.
That's all right.
What I mean? So
are they going to try and sell us some slime, or
maybe some slime? But no, I mean, well,
they might. You can't leave until you buy some.
Before we wrap this up, Brad, first of all, I'm so stoked that you came on the podcast, man. And I love you. And dude, I love you too, man. And I know that like we didn't even touch barely anything with you. And you got so much, so much we could dive into. But is there anything you were hoping we would talk about? Like that you were really like that you want to, why the mics are hot, man? Why the mics?
I think the only thing I was really debating about whether or not I wanted to tell everybody about this, going through this process with Zen, because it's a big thing for me.
Yeah.
And it's a kind of a personal thing for me. And I've told some of my good friends, and I've been trying to figure out a way to come out with my Zen.
How can
you know what I mean? But
how can we support you with that, man?
Yeah.
How can the city of Salt Lake City? How can we support you?
Whatever you want to do to support the Zen. If you believe that it's important that Salt Lake City have a Zen center, and you believe that, then please make a pledge to 2 Arrows Zen. Other than that, it's more what I can do to support you. That's really what it's about for me. It's like, I'm just going to try and help create a place where people who want to know about Zen meditation can come. And I believe the benefits of Zen create a better world. So it's me doing for you, not really you doing for me.
And listeners, how can they listen to you on the radio, man?
Man, KUAA 99.9 FM on there right now, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays from 5 to 7. We have a variety of programs. My good buddy Burke does Monday from 5 to 7. He's been helping me during COVID. Chase 1-2 and James Beard to The Long Walk Home on Tuesday nights from 7 to 10. I'm not just saying this. Like, we really have I feel like we have the best DJs. Those guys do such an amazing show. And then Heather Geither is on 7 to 10 Wednesday nights. All of them are doing unique things that I've never really heard other DJs do. None of them are like playing genre specific shows. Like you can switch genres, and some of them are weaving in poetry and stuff like Heather. Then John and Justin on Thursday nights with The Second Wind. That's like meditation on your airwaves. I literally feel my blood pressure drop just hearing those two talk to each other. I don't know how they talk to each other, but it's just so good.
The radio voices.
Annika, the 710 stack on Friday. Incredible. The sound department from 10 to 1 on Friday. And then El Diablito. Have you heard the Radio Inferno on Saturday nights from 7 to 10?
I don't think so.
Man, I thought I knew a lot about Mexican music. Matter of fact, when I was younger, I used to think I was Mexican when I moved here because all the other kids that would get signed out for seminary would be me and the Mexicans left behind. He plays the most amazing Mexican music that some of it, I had no idea there was that kind of Mexican music. Like, it's really, every time I listen, I'm like, I had no idea. It's that. And then I got to say, Dave Brashon, who is doing so much to help the radio station in the mornings from 7 to 10 a.m., Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I'm very grateful to have Dave. Dave was also at KRCL for a while. And we also went through the transition together at the radio station and did some of the training. So we have a lot of shared experience and a lot of shared knowledge that I'm very grateful that we're both able to share.
Chrissy has a final question.
Go ahead.
Ask
All
you,
right.
And I know I didn't give you a heads up on this, Brad. So sorry. If it's,
No pressure or anything. But if you could leave our listeners with a motto or a piece of life advice, what would you tell them?
Her saying that is making me think about all the great things that you post, which are so good. And they make me think of so many of the things that Joe said. And the one I'm thinking about, was that you? Or maybe it was Amir today, but I was thinking about the thing that Joe said. What other people think about you is their own damn business. You know who you are.
I think
Yeah, I was reading that today again somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, that was one that Joe would tell me. What other people think about you is their own damn business, you know?
That's true.
You know who you are. Like, and it really, yeah, there's so much in that too, right? Like, it's not just like if someone's gossiping about you, but really if you're doing something thinking, oh, I hope they think I'm cool. Like, what? Why are you even doing it?
Why does that matter?
Why does it matter? Do you know what I mean?
That's a layered sentence.
It's a layered sentence. Joe, I realized in a lot of ways was a Buddhist, and he was speaking in koans all the time. The first one that he ever said to me was, "Nothing ruins a duck worse than its bill." And it took me a long time to wrap my mind around that one. I was like,
meaning eating the bill, the duck bill, like beak?
Think about it.
Nothing ruins a duck worse than its bill.
Paying for it?
No.
Oh, man.
Well, the duck's snout is a bill.
It's a bill, right?
Is a bill, right? And I don't feel bad because when he first said it to me, I just nodded my head and was like, yeah. I went home and was like, what the hell did he tell me? And I thought about it for 3 months. And then I finally went back to him and said, what the hell does that mean, Joe? And he said, well, think about it, Brad. He's like, a duck is a pretty bird. I'm like, a duck is a pretty bird until it starts quacking. And then it's all whack, 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 whack. And I was just like,
wow.
He's like, nothing ruins a duck worse than its bill. And yeah, there's that. Like sometimes you see that at the blues jam. Sometimes people come in and they're like, oh, I'm so good. I can play. People that want to talk a lot. Yeah.
They're usually, it's like what I'm always saying when me and Chris talk about this all the time, but it's so much easier to stand outside of the ring than to get inside and actually box. You know, it's so easy to judge people and assume that you can do things and put people down who are actually trying. But
yeah,
support each other. They'll support you. We can all do awesome.
Yeah. I hear so many of those things that Joe would say in my head all the time. They just out of nowhere, they just come, you know?
Thank you again to Bad Brad Wheeler for joining us on this episode of the podcast. All of the links that we mentioned in this conversation can be found with this episode's show notes on our podcast website, iamsaltlake.com, and for this episode, iamsaltlake.com/465.
So are you making any New Year's resolutions this year, Chrissy?
You know,
or changes, I guess.
Actually,
resolutions is such a
silly word.
It's
right?
a silly word.
It is. And I've actually learned from you since we met. I watch you start your resolutions about 6 months before New Year's and you start working towards it, but you don't say anything. And then on New Year's, you're like, I'm going to do this amazing thing. But I'm like, I know you're already doing it. It's really cool. So you've kind of almost inspired me to start doing that. And I feel like I'm just on the right track to be the person I want to be more in 2021.
I love it.
So yeah, I don't really have resolutions. I just want to keep improving on what I've been trying to improve on.
I love it. And you've really made a lot of good changes on yourself.
Thank you.
One of the resolutions or changes, one of the big things I'm trying to implement more, and I know I've talked about this online. If anybody's following me on Facebook, and Chrissy already knows this, but I want to talk a little bit more about it, is daily journaling, because I love it. Because the biggest thing that isn't it frustrating that we can't look over? Like, I wish I had a journal to look over 2020 and be like, as much as I hated this year, I want to look at it.
You want to remember it.
I want to be like, okay, oh, wow, that happened. This happened.
Yeah.
And so, I have journals when I was a baby, right? My mom started a journal for me one time when I was like 2.
I know, which is so cute, because who has that kind of time?
And
your mom is a saint.
I figured this is going to be the year that I'm going to be just a journal nut, and I'm loving it so far. I'm on track.
You know, I think it helps you. You seem more calm. Like you can get your thoughts out, and then you're kind of more calm during the day because of it too. I know we were talking about that, how I was saying I needed to just get it out, and we talked about the power of journaling off air. I've noticed that you seem like very peaceful now that you've started journaling.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it's cool. I approve.
Well, thank you. So it's time to give some love to our supporters. These guys are doing a great job, keeping the podcast going. They're our frontline supporters, our Patreon supporters. If you would like to become a Patreon supporter, really easy to do. Just go to patreon.com/IamSaltLake. If you have found any value in this podcast, consider, becoming a supporter for as little as $1. It helps keep the lights on, helps pay our bills, helps pay for any equipment we might need. So I'm going to read this list of Patreon supporters. We got some amazing supporters, and I'm going to go down the list. I'm going to read them. I'm going to thank them. I'm probably going to butcher their names.
But I still like hearing their names, even if it's butchered, because it makes my heart so happy.
Yeah, so we got Jen Seals. She's actually probably our newest Patreon supporter. So thank you, Jen. And then we got Mark Copeland. I know he's been listening to the podcast for a while. So thank you, Mark. Nick Naylor, Brett Schmidt, Todd Bjorkland, Tim Haran, Michelle Stevens-Williams, Christopher Heiser, Brandon Hill, Jay Chambers, Sana, John Miller, Eric Tomorrow. I know most of you guys listen to mediocre shows, so shout out to Eric Tomorrow. Thanks for being a supporter. Nicole Davison, she's been a longtime supporter.
And friend. These are all my
friends.
friends. I love you
Three
guys.
Irons SLC and Nikki Line over in New Zealand. And then, of course, the mighty Ryan Prince. Gotta love that guy. He's been a supporter for a while.
Oh, man. One of these days when we can be around people again, like in big groups, we should all go out for a beer.
No, I think, we have some great supporters, and that's one thing I want to focus more on in 2021 is giving back to our supporters.
I love that.
I haven't really thought everything through yet, but if you guys have any ideas,
maybe that can be our, dare I say, podcast resolution?
Our podcast resolution.
We'll try, you guys. We'll try, we promise.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Well, don't forget, you can always visit our website at IamSaltLake.com to listen to the entire back catalog of episodes. And if you have a friend that you think would enjoy the show, go ahead and share it with them.
All right, you guys have a great week. Make sure to get out and enjoy the city. It's going to be beautiful this week. Support local, support a local restaurant or something. And we're going to see you next week on the next episode of I Am Salt Lake Podcast.
And good night, Grammy.